Did you know that you could heal your life? Like that's actually a Louise Hayes self-help book about like she has this book where she talks about how a lot of diseases can be rooted in trauma, in block belief systems, things that you manifest. Now, I don't want to believe that so literally because I also think we don't deserve to manifest health problems if we are struggling with trauma. But I will say there is so much power and you have so much ability to heal yourself and to will yourself into healing and to will yourself into living the life that you want, into manifesting that you want. Basically, what I'm trying to say is you're in control of your life in more ways than you think. Hello, welcome back to my podcast. My name is Arielle, and I'm finally starting to get more excited about this podcast. And maybe it's because Mars is now in Libra, and I feel like I'm taking action towards, like excitement towards like arts and like airy related things. Libra is an air sign. It's a cardinal air sign. So it's about starting things, networking with people, yada, yada, yada. So I feel like I am really excited to go work with other people, to go find things, go do things. And also, I think I'm officially going to drop the whole I'm all these other things, blah, 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 blah. But I will say, I will start this off by saying I am someone who's really empathic and sensitive. And right now, I'm finally coming back to feeling my feelings. So, if you had been listening or following, I mean, like, I haven't been really marketing this, but I want to soon. Basically, my big story is I've been discovering all these ways that my body is out of alignment and unbalanced, which is unfortunately coming up as health issues. Now, I've had a lot of sort of gaslighty doctors, or what I'm now accepting are doctors that could only help me as much as they could. And it mirrored what my life was and what my upbringing was, where I was always so disappointed that people couldn't take care of me, the people that should have had the tools to really help me. But they only could do as much as they could with the knowledge that they had. And eventually I had to let go, and I had to realize that I had to heal myself. And in order to heal myself, I had to break a lot of limiting beliefs. And one of the biggest ones was that I was going to be destined to be abandoned, or like I was destined to get sick. Like, I think it's really, really unfortunate because there are children born with cancer. There are people who wouldn't know it, but they would get cancer eventually just because of however their upbringing is. There are people who are born into unfortunate circumstances, into abusive homes. Like, a lot of people cannot have ever manifested what has happened to them. And for me, and with a lot of us who hold, well, I think everyone holds generational trauma, but a lot of us who are still in the throes of like healing generational trauma, a lot of it can also feel unfair because for me it feels very half and half. Like, I feel like, I'm an Asian American born to immigrant parents, and I feel like I am on the lucky side of our generational line, honestly, because I was born into America and I was born into a better life than my parents. But but the upbringing of an American life wasn't quite there. So they didn't have the mentality or the emotional mentality to feel like they're living an American dream, really, because the way they got there was through struggle and sacrifice and survival. But damn, did they beast it, and did they did they make a new life for us? It's obviously a lot of weight on my shoulders. Both me and my sister always feel this. And it feels like I I want to be amazing, like there's a lot of pressure. Like there's a model minority myth. I feel like I have to be really successful because shit, like my parents like struggled and they left their country, like they barely see like their siblings and stuff, and they're here, and I always kind of look at them and I'm like, are you happy in America? And I think they are, and I think they're happy with what they achieved, but God, like, is all of that hard? And they mostly had a battle, and like I guess now that I'm in my adulthood and I'm finally facing this time in my life where my life is really up to me. I feel the battle, and I feel that I witnessed my parents and their own health issues, and the fact that like they really couldn't have taken care of themselves um as much as I have the ability to. And again, that's a lot of pressure. It's like, bitch, you were given everything, which is what my parents tend to tell me. Um, you know, and another phrase that they always tell me is yours is just to be happy. And I swear I'm going to write that into a script or something. But like I know it's probably not good, but like they would always get frustrated at me whenever I was sad or had an emotion that wasn't like, you know, that wasn't easy to digest because they didn't know how to deal with emotions. But they get frustrated at me and they'd be like, you're given everything. Yours is just to be happy. You don't have to do things. You just have to do what you're good at and be happy about it. And they understood that. And yet, I don't think they understood how hard that is. I don't know why. I don't know why that is so hard for us. Just be happy. Do what you want to do, work hard for it, don't complain, and be happy. For me, I had wanted to be a singer and a writer and all this other stuff. Basically, I think since I was a child, I knew I had these talents. But somewhere along the way, I think, you know, not being able to cry or have emotions translated to, oh, I can't express myself. I'm not allowed to. And then it turned into a lot of comparativeness between women and me and my sister, and a lot of competition and a lot of like jealousy and things. Plus, it turned into this sort of resentment, honestly, unfortunately, towards my parents, which I think almost every Asian American um, child has towards their parents, where it's just, I wish you were just a little bit, just the tadest bit nurturing, because without that warmth, it's like, how do I tap into my creativity? Because it's like, I don't know how to nurture myself. And so that's a key, but that's also the generational passing of the torch of traumas, right? Because whereas my parents like really fought through survival and then got us to a really grounded space, in which they still do, I feel like I have taken up the struggle torch, and I am now going through what a lot of millennials, Gen Zers, what a lot of people of our generation and younger are now starting to do, fighting for emotions, fighting to do more than just survive, fighting to be conscious, really, and to have everyone live their best lives and not just survive. And it feels like our generations now are being much, much more called to have our own businesses, to create our own things. Like, you take any expertise now, and they have the potential to have a second job being a content creator. Like, you can be a doctor and also give out advice and have your own YouTube channel and stuff about being a doctor, or something separate. Like, you could be the lawyer and then also have a like social media channel, a TikTok about being a lawyer and lawyer advice, or like backpacking through Europe, whatever you want to do. But it just feels like our generations now have passed the point of just survival, of just fighting. Now we're like elevating to that level, and we're taking back control of our lives and ourselves and how we present ourselves. We're more than that. We're individuals. What is this podcast episode about? I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling, and I think it's okay for now. But I just feel like, okay, this is what it's about. I feel like lately, at the age of 33, doing my version of my generational healing in the timeline that was right for me, I am finally understanding how to take control of my life, do what I want, and to become happy. And I think I had all these health problems and all these emotional blocks, which I knew came from things outside of me. And I'm so empathic that I I know that I tap into other people too often and into their feelings. I actually had this one YouTuber, his name's Aaron Dowdy. He's a great spiritual YouTuber, look him up. Um, he once did a video about how empaths happen. Like you become really empathic and you tune into it more almost as a survival technique because you grew up around narcissistic people, around people that you had to walk on eggshells around people that you had to be really hyper aware of being around. And to protect yourself, you tuned into how they were feeling so deeply so that you knew how to act, so you can readjust, so you could help them, so they wouldn't hurt you. And then what happened was is as an empath, you leaned into that as your defense mechanism, as a strength. And in some friendships and relationships, you probably were praised for it, like I was. But it became so overpowering. You end up always being on edge, always being attuned to everybody else, and then you're overwhelmed, you're unfocused, and you forget about you and your feelings. And well, yeah, that's my story. And and that manifests as like I have trapped trauma. I didn't take care of myself. My immune system, like my autoimmune, like my auto autonomic nervous system, there you go. Like my nervous system has been really up and down and all over the place. And I'm sure that can lead to digestive issues. And then my posture and stuff, it's like I wasn't even paying attention to how my body moved. I just made it move. I just made it sit in uncomfortable spaces. I made myself drive in uncomfortable positions. I would overwork it. I would overwork out. I would undereat just to push myself to please the people around me and to just keep moving. And I left my body and I didn't take care of it. And I would constantly daydream or think about what I could do to help other people. And I would forget how to be in my body and even how to move correctly in my body. And that is what I'm coming up to now. I am finally learning how to move my body right again. Like I learned after years of physical therapy and my physical therapist not figuring this out, I figured this out that I have like weird posture problems, like an asymmetrical like pelvic tilt that I need to fix, which is like, oh my God, light bulb moment. Like I couldn't work out correctly for years. And I figured this out by watching somebody on YouTube. And I've been having all these health issues, which actually mirror a lot of what my mom's has had for like digestive issues. And then I've been looking up some information, a lot of it on Instagram, which I know isn't always the best advice, but these people who give out free information on social media, again, people who are doctors or nutritionists who can also be content creators, are a gold mine. And I've been learning like, oh, I should do these things with my diet. I should look into these things and I could prevent any long-term autoimmune issues or other issues. And that's such a game changer. Whereas I think everyone decided decades ago that, like, oh, once you hit this age, you just get an autoimmune issue. You just probably will get cancer by 80 or something. And it's like, no, those all could have been avoidable. And it's weird because it's just like I had to tap into kind of like how the thing is, my parents were the ones to break away from their families by coming to America and making a better life. And now our generation, and specifically me, I'm breaking away from old patterns and traditions by deciding to take care of myself, by deciding to look deeper and to listen to my symptoms, my body, my feelings, my thoughts, like whatever was upsetting me, to delve deeper. And there's this self-reliance that I'm building that I think mirrors a lot of like what my mom's always told me about how she was like I just had to make it work. I just had to find the money. I just had to figure it out because I had you two, like me and my sister. I had to just keep working hard and figure out how to be more confident. I just had to do it. And now we're taking that a step further and evolving it to I'm learning how to allow myself to be happy, how to do everything without too much pressure, how to balance. And it's scary because, okay, let's get into law of attraction and manifesting. So, I have lately been suggested by YouTube to watch all these like spiritual neuroscientist videos, all of them doing interviews with like Jay Shetty and stuff like that. And like one of them is like Dr. Joe Dispenza, who I am honestly a bit wary of anyone who falls way too far onto like far deep into law of attraction and esoteric things, because he will say things like, "Oh yeah, someone can literally meditate out their cancer." And I'm just like, uh, as much as you want to believe in that, it's a bit insensitive to say that sort of thing, right? But for me, I understand what he means in that I feel like if you were to calm down your nervous system, that first of all can fire better, make your nerves fire better. You'll probably be more aware of your body, and then you'll be able to feel into what is wrong, and you'll be able to pinpoint the pain better. You'll be able to present that to doctors better, or you have more space and presence to figure out your issues and know who the right people are to go to. And also, I'm sure, like, disease does manifest, but it was scaring me because the past couple weeks I had like a huge autoimmune response to a lot of the foods that I was eating. And I still don't eat too badly, but I just felt like oh my god, no matter what I do, this is just going to keep happening. I'm just going to keep spiraling into all these health issues, and there won't be people to take care of me because they don't have the tools, and it's just going to happen to me. And I don't know what I can do because I'm not the doctor. Now, if you do allow yourself to sort of, with a grain of salt, take Dr. Joe Dispenza's advice and say, like, I'm going to meditate out, or I'm going to feel into my symptoms and decide for my body, I get to heal. And I started to do that. And the thing is obviously when you spiral, when you decide no one's going to help me, you're only going to see one thing. You're only going to see where the interruptions are. You're only going to see the roadblocks. And by at least choosing a different belief system, I was more positive and I could go about my day without being disrupted by anxiety or sitting in and wallowing in, despair, basically. I felt like I could move differently. I felt like I could do other things. And right now, like what happens is like I will ignore, dealing with the harder things because I know I shouldn't have to. But instead of being lazy or like in denial or whatever, I decided to meditate, but more so decide to quiet my mind from all these belief systems, these negative belief systems, and decide, okay, like there was a moment where I was like, okay, if all these other doctors are telling me like, well, your symptoms don't look like anything, even though functional medicine will say until it gets bad. But like, I decided if it's not that bad now, then these symptoms can be relieved by some sort of tweaks, and I can always get healthier. And I started to look at people who reversed everything. There are people who reversed their digestive issues, autoimmune issues, and cancers. Everything's reversible, actually. And so, with the belief system and with tricking my mind, not just tricking, but convincing my mind that something can be reversible, I decided I can be one of those people that can reverse it. And so I have been diving deeper into my issues and finding these ways, like such as for my posture, finding YouTubers that help me, finding functional medicine doctors and nutritionists on Instagram that help. I am finding more resources and I am finding better people. And basically, the biggest takeaway is I am deciding not to believe in the belief systems that don't help me grow or change. So that includes not just my mindset, not just being depressive and negative in me, but deciding that I get to move beyond the people that aren't helpful. So that's a key. And maybe I've been rambling for too long and maybe I should have started with this point, but a lot of how you can change your life is obviously letting go of the people who created, or at least the influence that the people who created your mindset have. Like, I kept being faced with doctors who were like, oh, yeah, you have those symptoms, and don't worry, take a laxative, whatever. And like, that's the worst advice that is given way too much to people with IBS. And then later on, decades later, they're like, I have colon cancer or Crohn's disease. And they're like, I wonder where that came from. Well, they could have been taken care of better. And at this point, I'm deciding if I disagree, then I'll use these people for what I need them for the tools that they have. But then I get to decide I can move on and there will be help. And I get to believe differently. And that's the same thing with relationships, with friendships, with career, with your mindset, you know? Obviously, like this is probably also obvious, but like and that's why I'm just rambling. But you can heal your life, you can change your life because everything comes down to your belief system. If your belief system doesn't allow for change, then you won't change. You have to take control over what you think you're capable of. Life doesn't just happen to you. It does if you get stuck. If you get stuck in a mindset that you don't like, but you're deciding not to leave. You have to leave the mindsets and let go of the influence of the people with the mindsets that are no longer serving you. And I mean, duh, right? But lately I have, as I've been doing that, like I've been breaking down like my negative belief systems around becoming a creative. And a lot of my fears are just like, you're too old. And I'm like, how is that relevant at all? You know, like you are always creating. You might as well continue creating. People don't just die when they turn 30. Like they continue living, they do more things, and they become an expert in things. And I actually am at the beginner level of a lot of stuff. So the fact that I can like pick it up again and just continue, I'll probably just get better. And I also decided like because a lot of my blocks were based on who I was because I felt like oh, I grew up being the quiet one to my loud sister and the dynamic will always be like that with loud people. And like I didn't quite know how to differentiate or really be my own person. And now that I am, I'm learning I get to be more nuanced. I get to have more balance. Not only balance, I get to have a mix of whatever things I want. There will be days where I want to be a writer and introspective and be a listener. There'll be days where I want to dance and I want to sing and perform like on a stage in a musical and be like very outside and like engaged with an audience. There will be days where I feel really confident and loud and like sexy and like wanting to be feminine. And then there'll be days where I'll feel like I want to be more organized and get my shit together and talk about finances and shit. I cannot, it doesn't serve me at all to feel stuck in mindsets that are hurting me, that are making me unhappy. A lot of our depression, a lot of depression comes from the fact that we are stuck with belief systems and expectations that we don't like, that our body doesn't like, but we aren't moving on from it. And I think that's why why I had been depressed for years, probably for like about a decade or so, since I was a teenager. Or, longer than that now. But it's like I would get depressed because I didn't like being around people with mindsets I didn't like, but I didn't know how to move on beyond them. So I was in a depression state. I was in a weird in between where nothing was happening. I was in depression over being creative because I could only do so much until I felt a block, until I felt like I'm not good enough, until I felt like you can't do that because you're not loud enough, or you can't do that because you have to be perfect at it, or whatever. And so I would stop it, but I wouldn't be happy moving on from it. So I stayed in the depressive stage. I just stayed in the pit. Anyone watched Parks and Rec? I feel in the pit. You should watch it. Okay, anyway, that's Mouse Rat, the band that Andy Dwyer, who's played by Chris Pratt. Like that's the song they play, one of them. Anyway, but yeah, I was stuck in the parrot, and I was in that in between, in that inability to move on and be who I wanted to be, but yet I acknowledged that I was unhappy with the mindsets that I had around me. And now I feel like the key is to remember that you have some control, that you're able to do what you can. And the thing is you might as well live your life. And like, I think a lot of depression is also, you might have held on to an expectation of how you wanted your life. For me, I think I've been kind of obsessed for so long with like, I have the potential to be a great artist, performer, whatever, mix of things. And I knew that. But my body and my healing and my trauma and my mind isn't like speeding up to get there. It needs some nurture and maintenance right now. And I'm having to be happy with the fact that like at least I'm opening up, at least I'm getting healthier, and I'm now playing and singing and everything. I'm having to be happy with the fact that I am starting, and I don't know if I'm going to reach that end goal, but I get to live in it. And that kind of goes back to when I once talked about perfectionism, that I think it's important, especially if you have depression, if you're trying to be happier, if you're trying to change your mindsets, to change the goal. Because a lot of the times the goal is, I want to be an Oscar-winning director or whatever, which is like a great goal. That's awesome. So that means you want to be a really good ass director and you want people to acknowledge you for it, right? So maybe, God, there's a world where life happens and you don't get the opportunity to work hard enough to get into Hollywood or whatever. And like, while I'm holding on to the fact that I could and I always could, I'm trying to stay happy in the now. And if my goal was, I want to be an Oscar-winning director, what you really want is, you want recognition for your hard work and your vision of being an awesome director. And maybe you change it from the literal getting an Oscar to, I want the same feeling of being recognized for my vision. And maybe that'll change the depression in you. If you haven't achieved that goal, you're at least happy knowing that you are feeling what you would have loved to feel. Also, imagine the people who, like, let's say you did get an Oscar as a director, but you didn't feel like you earned it. You didn't feel good about how it came about, or like life happened otherwise, and like what you really wanted is to be happy throughout your life becoming that director. You didn't want to overwork, you didn't want to lose time with like from your family, you didn't want to like give in to the academy or the big networks or studios or whatever and do it all for money. Dive deeper into that goal. You don't want to be a shameful Oscar-winning director, right? You don't want to be like a disrespected one. You don't want to be, a joke, and you don't want to be only that either. You don't want your life to just be directing. You want to live a life. You want to, that's like going back to my life, like I want to feel good in my body as I achieve my goals of becoming everything I want to be. I want to feel like I have time for friends and family. I want to feel like I have a good balance of my life, and that the life isn't just about the goal. I want to have my life, and I want to be happy every day as I'm working towards things. I want to have a happy flow and progression every step of the way. And so when my parents have told me, yours is just to be happy, I mean, that doesn't mean I'm not supposed to be sad, but I think that also just means I get to do more than just be happy or sad. I I get to live. But okay, I don't know if any of this made sense. I think this was just more of a reflection type thing. But I'm getting excited because, as I said in the beginning, Mars is in Libra. I am not in Libra, but I am wanting to collaborate. I want to make things. I want to meet new people. I want to be around people of my same belief system and mindset, and ones that I can learn from to develop my mindset, develop the mindset I want more. That's the key. I'm really excited because now I'm at a point where, sure, I'm not quite perfect by myself, but I'm willing to keep working on myself while I start venturing out of the old belief systems and venturing into people with new belief systems, with the ones that I want, and to start stepping into what that is. Yeah. Well, anyway, okay. So I hope y'all stay happy and healthy. Yours is to be happy, but your version of that. Okay. Well, until next time, peace and love. Bye-bye.